Hi everybody, I'm here to report on yesterday's 1-each draw at Ibrox against Celtic. And if you're wondering why my headline mentions 7-man Gers, it's because we basically got that draw playing with 7 men. Because Barry, thank God he's not going to get the job permanently, he's as bad as the other managers, he doesn't have a clue either, and he's got 2 former managers beside him in the dugout and they can't pick the correct side. Anyhow, as I was going to say, before I got diverted into a rant, he picked the wrong team, so we ended up playing 7 men against 11. Well, 12 if you count Nick Walsh, one of the most anti-Rangers referees you'll ever see. Well, more than that if you count Celtic fan Frank Connor on the main stand touchline, and Kevin Clancy as the 4th official, and who knows was in that VAR room, because they weren't doing us any favours, that's for sure. But anyhow, to get back to the team, I couldn't believe it when I saw Bayrami playing. Bayrami, Drossers and Czerny up front. Absolute dross. I mean, they were terrible. Absolutely ridiculous selection. No threat whatsoever, basically, with the 3 of them, the way they were playing. And at the back, you had Shefty, who had a nightmare of a game. I mean, absolutely terrible. You could have picked a young guy to play at left back, and it would have been better than him. So, okay, let's face it, the manager didn't have any choice but to play Shefty, unless he'd gone for 3 at the back. And I suppose he didn't have any choice but to play Czerny. A lot of good that did him, because they were pathetic. But he did have a choice when it came to Drossers and Bayrami. By the way, not many people know this, but Bayrami in Albanian means empty shirt. And that's what he's been since practically the first game he played for us. He does nothing. He trundles about. He doesn't tackle. He doesn't harass the opposition. When he passes it, most of the time it doesn't go to one of our guys. Actually, yesterday, I'll give him credit, he did 3 good passes. Yes, 3, I said. You didn't mishear me. 3 passes in the game, and that was his contribution. I hear apologies from saying, oh, his job was to close down Callum McGregor and stay with him and not let him get in control of the game. I could do that. I mean, a footballer has to do more than stand in a space between whoever's got the ball and Callum McGregor. But that's all he did. Absolutely shocker. We have to get rid of this guy as soon as possible in the summer. Get some of our money back. He doesn't want to be here. He's lazy. He's mentally and physically weak. He doesn't challenge for the ball. He barely passes. He barely shoots. He contributes nothing. Give Drossers his due. At least he scored a goal. But that's all he did. No, I take it back. He did one other thing. 10 minutes from the end, 1 each. Iggerman, just inside the box on the right hand side, passes it beautifully right onto him. 8 yards out, right in the centre of the box. Shoot, it's a goal. We've won the game. No, a fresh air shot, and it hits off his standing leg and bounces away. That's why I call him Drossers. I don't care that he scored a good goal. It was a good goal. He took his chance well, 1 out of 10. But just forget the rest of them. I mean, we could have won that game if he'd put that away, and he didn't, obviously. So, Drossers Bayrami. Czerny had a nightmare. I don't know why he was punching the dugout when I saw it on TV later, when he was subbed. I mean, he should have been subbed long before that. In fact, the sub should have come on at half time. The fact that Barry chose to keep on with Drossers and Bayrami into the second half just defies belief. Could he not see what we were saying? It was absolutely shocking that he was standing there with his co-managers, not noticing all the terrible stuff that was happening. So now, that was why I say we only had 7 men against Celtic, so they did well. We can appreciate a draw, I suppose, in the circumstances. And by the way, our captain heroic Tavernier, he wasn't much better than Shefty. He almost caused 1 goal, and he did cost another goal. In fact, he almost cost us 2 goals, especially right at the end when Maeda got the pass. He passed it, Tavernier passed it inside, intercepted by Hatate. Maeda runs right up the other end, Tavernier trailing behind him, and it took Kelly to come out and stop the ball with his foot. It was more Maeda's mistake than Kelly's brilliant save or anything, and Tavernier then boots it away. So Tavernier could have cost us the actual draw, never mind a victory, right in the 97th minute. Before that, though, there was another ball over the top in the second half. Maeda ran onto, and thankfully it didn't come to anything. Somebody intercepted it. But then the goal, Celtic goal, Maeda ran onto the ball over the top of Tavernier. Tavernier's struggling. Thankfully, Suter comes across to clean up. Oh, yes. But all he does is boot the ball off Maeda, who turned his back on it. And how lucky is that? It bounces away straight to Ida, who takes a touch. And then how lucky is this? His shot bounces off Suter again and into the net. Talk about jammy. I mean, you can't get jammier than that. I mean, 2 deflections and it's in the net out of, nothing basically. So that sums up how jammy Celtic were yesterday. The other one that Tavernier nearly cost a goal. Again, Maeda runs away from him on his blind side, the ball over the top, and it took somebody else to come over and block the ball before it became a danger. So Tavernier was shocking as well. We've got to get rid of people at Tavernier, Drossers, Bayrami. Hopefully a new manager will see that they've got to go, because it doesn't look as if Barry thinks they should go anytime soon. So thankfully he won't be around. He'll be back doing his hospitality stuff in one of the lounges next season, hopefully. And Neil McCann, etc., they'll be back on the BBC doing their stuff, because they ain't no managers. Anyhow, what can I say about the game as a whole? Open game, end-to-end stuff, very little quality on show from either side. Both teams could have scored 4 or 5, actually. I think Rangers had 4 shots on target, Celtic had 3. I think Rangers had about 13 shots at goal and they had about 7. So not a lot of goal-mouth action, actually, because I suppose it was all in midfield. It was all safe passing, very few great passes going forward, opening up a defence. It's one of these games. But I suppose we can be happy enough with the draw. You can almost say, if we'd just taken one of the chances, we probably would have been good enough just to hang on and keep the win. I mean, the first few minutes, Balogun, he gets a free header from a corner and he heads it over the bar. Well, I say over the bar, skimmed the top of the bar and then over. That should have been in the net. And then Raskin had a header, a tame header into the corner, but the goalie saved it. Easy save to make. And then, of course, his header that scored, well celebrated, no danger of any offside, any problems there. Oh, but of course VAR will always find something when it wants to. So having seen it now on TV, I still can't see why he was offside. Okay, they pointed a red line saying offside. They've got a wee dotted line from his shoulder down to that red line. But there's so many people in a line on the edge of the box. I can't see where a Celtic guy is, because the angle shows just Rangers shirts. There's Celtic shirts in amongst there, but who knows where their feet are, because there's no line showing you where the opposition's feet are. Usually when you see an offside, they show you the attacker who's offside, and then they show you the line for the defender who's playing him offside. None of that yesterday. Just there he is. Raskin's offside. I'll prove it by showing where the Celtic guy was. Oh no, haven't done that, can't do that. So that still annoys me. And then, of course, the penalty. Hadji overturned, piled into by McGregor. And by the way, what does Cal McGregor have to do in these games to get booked? Nick Walsh cleverly ignored everything he did, every foul. He must have had 4 or 5 fouls and wising up and trying to noise up Raskin and shoving him and smiling at him. Nothing, no punishment whatsoever. So anyhow, he piled into Hadji in the box. You can see it clearly. He doesn't touch the ball, gets nowhere near the ball. It just falls right into Hadji and lands on him. So much so that Hadji ends up having to be replaced. The sub has to be subbed because he's been injured in it. But nothing happened here, according to VAR. How did that guy get injured? I went, he must have just fallen over. Or it was a coming together, as McFadden and his fellow Celtic fans in commentary usually say, a coming together. Nothing in that. Just 2 people clashing, coming together. One has to go off injured. One should have got a penalty, but he was in a blue shirt, so it doesn't matter. So Nick Walsh, he should never referee another Rangers game again. After that Tannadice decision sending off Diamandi going against VAR, that should have been the last straw, but no. There he is, helping his chums out yesterday in green and white hoops. So let's hope we do something about this guy in the future. He's just an anti-Rangers, hopeless referee. Anyhow, one each. Okay, that's it. Can't say anything else. Let's win the next couple of home games.